Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Arsenal working on early signings in the summer ahead of what's going to be a very busy transfer market for us. About 6 incomings have been projected and we have already agreed personal terms with 2 forwards. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Looks like it's gonna be a very important summer, a very interesting one after Arsenal having a difficult season, what Mikel has called a season from hell. He was asked about it and he said, this is the season that I can say I have learned a lot. I have had so many injuries and it has not been fair. We have had to adjust internally and we pray that by the end of the campaign, we harvest something. But Arsenal are also working on something in terms of transfers. We usually do our business early when we are going to have a good window. Honestly, you remember Declan Rice? That was a January move. You remember Gabriel Jesus? That was a January move. Most of the times when Arsenal are going to have a serious summer, we start planning in January and we start working on our deals within February, then March, then April, then May. And then by the time we get to the summer, we already know what we were doing. And that's why it was very peculiar last summer. We went into the market and Arsenal didn't know who they wanted. They wanted Sesko, then they wanted Gyökeres, they wanted, Calafiori, then they also wanted Murillo. It was very, very confusing. And the result is very clear. We ended up with a very, very bad result of the summer. But Arsenal have already agreed personal terms with 2 players, and now that shows you that actually I would say Arsenal have verbal agreements with about a couple of players to go and sign them. Our new goalkeeper could be Joan Garcia. We have already an agreement with him. Martin Zubimendi, we have an agreement with him as well. But Arsenal have now added 2 forwards that are very interesting to their list of players who we have a verbal agreement with, and that is Benjamin Sesko and Nico Williams. Now, Fabrizio Romano has been reporting on Sesko and he has said Arsenal have never stopped negotiations with Sesko right from January. We went back there in January, we tried to discuss with the player, we tried to discuss with RB Leipzig as well, but Arsenal didn't want to spoil the relationship between us and RB Leipzig, so they decided not to push further for a move for Sesko in January. They understood that Leipzig didn't want to sell and they understood that the player is still a very important part of the team, so they decided we are gonna wait until the summer. But what Arsenal did is conversations were held once again in February after the window to make sure that we get Sesko's signature. Personal terms, I can say, have been agreed between Arsenal and Sesko's camp, and what is remaining is Arsenal agreeing a total price, a total package between us and RB Leipzig. Now, talking about that, Arsenal also looking to do a very sneaky deal in a very quick way, and that is Nico Williams. Arsenal, of course, understand that Nico Williams is one of the hottest prospects on the market. Like, if you think about, I want a very good winger. Nico Williams is definitely up there with the likes of Vinicius Jr., with the likes of Rodrigo, with the likes of Saka. He's up there with the likes of Lamine Yamal. So if you're gonna get him, and it's a market opportunity deal, you either have to be very quick or you have to be very good. Like, you have to be Madrid, right? And we are not Madrid, we are Arsenal, so we've got to be very, very quick. Initially, the player asked for 300k, and that was a problem. But I think Arsenal realized that if you want to get Nico Williams to sign for you, you've got to do something extraordinary. Now, that could be winning the Champions League and the Premier League, like, at the same time. That would be extraordinary. That would make our project very interesting for the guy. He would be like, listen, they won the Premier League and the Champions League at the same time. What am I doing? Let me go and join them. They're a big club. But because Arsenal do not have that leverage of titles, what we've got to do is spend some extra cash, some extra pepper, some extra seasoning on the bread. And that is give him the money that he actually wants. And that is why Arsenal believe that they're going to sign Nico Williams. They're ahead of Barcelona, they're ahead of anyone, because they're willing to give the player the total package he is asking for. Now, that might be a little bit too ambitious. That could be a little bit crazy and it might cause a couple of problems. How do you give Nico Williams 300k a week? But the big move is that Arsenal have already had agreements with two of their primary targets for this summer. That is quite very interesting. That is quite very, very interesting. Why is it important for us to lock down Sesko? And why is it important for us to lock down William this early? When you think about these two players, there is something that Fabrizio has said. Arsenal love them, but they're not the only club. Being the fact that they're going to be available this summer, a whole list, a queue of clubs, is looking at them. A queue of clubs is, monitoring them. They're looking at them and they're going, listen, we are going to try and get you this summer. Chelsea will want a winger, and Nico Williams is one of them. Chelsea want a striker, and Sesko is one of them. We are told that Juventus are looking at Sesko as a potential replacement for Dusan Vlahovic, and Manchester United are in need of a winger after banishing Garnacho and banishing Rashford, and they also need a centre forward who can actually properly score goals. We also understand that Aston Villa are in the market for a striker after selling John Duran. So it's not going to be a walkover. You either have to start walking the journey quickly and start ahead of everyone, or if you can't do that, then primarily what you can do, and I think this is a very, very smart move from Arsenal, you can do it smartly, right? And I think Arsenal, what we've done here is we have started the journey ahead of everyone, but we have also done it smartly. It's not, attracting a lot of noise. It's just around there. Arsenal in talks with Sesko. Talks are still ongoing. We get that Fabrizio Romano update. And then we also get the David Ornstein update that Nico Williams is now willing to join Arsenal in the summer. It shows that Arsenal are putting in a lot of work. It shows, for you to get to that level where Nico Williams is like Barcelona only. And he's like either Barcelona or Atletico Madrid or Atletico Bilbao. And then he's like, okay, I will stay at Atletico Bilbao, but I will consider a move to the Premier League. And it's like, I will really love to move to Arsenal. We've done a lot of work in terms of convincing the player, in terms of selling our project to these players. The same with Zubimendi. This is a player that Arne Slot almost signed. Arne Slot almost signed Martin Zubimendi. Almost. But for him to snub Liverpool and then just a few months later agree a deal with Arsenal, right? It looks like a lot of work has been put into these deals. And that takes me to the point that I've read today, that Arsenal are running quickly. They want to get their deals done early this summer, as opposed to last summer where we stalled and stalled and stalled. Imagine, even David Raya, a player who had already signed for Arsenal, took us until July to get that deal done. That was really embarrassing. That was really, really bad. Of course, we had PSR, we had financial fair play, money issues here and there that had to be sorted. But last summer was the epitome of weakness. We showed how bad we are at being ambitious, and we showed how bad we are at being at negotiating deals in the market. And what eventually happened is Mikel Arteta got his signings late, very late in the window, and he started scratching his head. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? Right? But if you are actually serious, you start early, right? It's a strategy that has worked for us before, especially in getting players like Declan Rice, in getting players like Martin Odegaard. You start working on the deal early so that by the time the summer rolls in, you've done much of the work. And of course, doing deals early in the market is going to be very beneficial for us, because Mikel Arteta is under pressure this season. But next season, it's going to go to a different level. Imagine you've been there for 6 years. You've spent about 900 million, because by the end of the next summer, Mikel Arteta will have spent $1 billion or just shy of €1 billion in euros, right? So you've been there and you've spent just a shy of $1 billion. The pressure for you to win is going to be paramount, maximum, high, top, call it whatever you want. And, it's justifiable. It is justifiable. The reason as to why it is justifiable is every team wants to build a project that wins. And if you're Mikel Arteta and you've been there for 6 years, that is more than half a decade, we need to see the results. So early signings will help Mikel Arteta work with the players in order to replace the injured players. Kai Havertz is not going to begin the season. Jesus will not begin the season. Tomiyasu will not begin the season. And we have so many tired players that have suffered from burnout. Very many tired players. So when you think about all that, when you think about all this, tired players, burnout, ABC, ABCD, DFG, you need to bring in players, around 4 or 5 players, quickly, work with them, and then, let them know what you want out of them. You don't want to start a season and then Mikel Merino is learning. You don't want to start a season and then Calafiori is learning the basics at Arsenal. And that's why Lewis Skelly has looked better than Calafiori, because Lewis Skelly is Arsenal through and through. And Calafiori is coming, is just coming in. So I love early deals, and I agree when we say that we should go and do early deals. Now, a couple of sources are quoting about 6 signings, that Arsenal might well do about 6 signings considering departures. Now, I've said when it comes to departures, there will be some painful ones, and I can feel them coming. I can feel that Partey departure. I can feel that Jorginho departure. I can feel that Jakub Kiwior departure. And I think the departures that we will have are eventually going to set the bar for who comes in. If we have like 3 departures, we might have around 5 incomings. But if we go for around 6-7 departures, we sell about 7 players, we release about 7 players, we might even see Arsenal doing like 7 signings. And these are not going to be all top-notch, but some players that just come in to fill positions in the squad. For example, Jean Garcia as the second goalkeeper, pretty much that one will happen. Zubimendi to replace Jorginho, Nico Williams to come into left wing, Benjamin Sesko to come as a striker. You already have 4 players that you're really guaranteed will happen unless a hijack happens. So if you have these 4 already coming in, what about an extra defender? What about an extra attacking midfielder? What about an extra attacker? So we might be looking at a deficiency that could be satisfied with around 7 incomings. Now, 6 players, that is going to cost money. And I think we will have to see Arsenal act quickly and work quicker than we have done in the previous summers. When you want to bring in 6 players and when the squad demands, there's a difference between, the manager wants 6 players and then there's the squad demands, right? Because you look at our squad right now, it is like porous. You could easily see that we are sparsely populated. And I think the attack is saying, I need 2 more additions or 3. So if you do 2 additions in attack, you do 2 additions in midfield, you get in 1 goalkeeper, that's already 5, and 1 more defender, that's about 6 signings. We've got to be agile, quick, we've got to be smart, and we've got to be tough while negotiating this summer. Otherwise, we might not have enough time. The summer flies by. By the time you enter July, the summer is over. 31 days of July, the summer is over. And this time, we don't want to waste time. But I'm happy with what we've done so far. Without a permanent sporting director, working with Jason Aito, who I believe, by the way, I don't know whether people really think about this enough. But Jason Aito, the interim sporting director, has been working to complete these deals that were left in the pipeline by Edu and Mikel Arteta. And I'm really convinced that Aito, knowing the system and having worked with Mikel and Edu before, he might become our new sporting director. Now, go over to the Kosi Arsenal podcast channel. I am going to upload a video on Rosicky. Rosicky is one of the contenders of sporting director at Arsenal. Not convinced about him, but it could happen. But without a sporting director that is permanent, Arsenal are already working on these deals. And it's already impressive, right? It's really, really impressive. See you soon.